Good morning. This is the ABCs of sight calling, and we thank you for turning out at such a bright and early stage of the day. I'm still on Eastern Standard Time, so it's kind of crazy. First thing I'd like to do is introduce the folks who are going to be on our panel this morning, and then we'll introduce the subject just a little bit and try to spend as much time as we can this morning within the framework of our demonstrations and the various sight calling techniques that will be demonstrated, and leave enough time at the end of each segment for questions and answers rather than waiting until the end of the hour where a thought that ran through your mind in the first session, and it'll be divided into three little segments here, and you've forgotten about it by the time the end of the hour and a half comes about. Sitting on my left is a gentleman from a town in Minnesota by the name of Waseca, and Whitey Aamot has been calling since 1947. I don't think I was thinking much about calling in 1947. Forever. I was in high school. He has a background as a teacher and as a coach, and that's what led him into the square dance calling activity. He currently has been retired from that job as a coach, teacher, for 5 years, and now devotes full time to the art and science of making people happy by calling square dances. Sitting on my right is a fellow Floridian who we've known for a long time and have a lot of respect for. Art Springer is retired from the military. He was a flyer in the Confederate Air Force. Lives in Tampa, Florida, and has been calling since about 1962, if I recall correctly. He's a full-time square dance caller, travels a great deal as part of his square dance activity, but basically earns his living as a square dance caller on the local basis, teaching people to dance, calling for local clubs, conducting workshops like most of us do, and so forth and so on. The subject this morning, the ABCs of sight calling, and the instructions we got from the office was to kiss the caller this morning. You know that phrase we use, kiss the dancers, keep it simple, stupid, so to speak, or silly, or whichever way you approach it. And that was our design this morning. That's what we got from the office. It's an introduction to some of the basic fundamentals that we three use in the art and science of sight calling. And we have a background, very quickly. Many years ago, callers primarily used strictly memory. Strictly memory. You go back 30, 40 years, that's all they used. Then the mushroom of basics came along, and it became very difficult to memorize entire routines using all of the basics that were available to us. Lloyd Littman and Ricky Holden wrote a book called Instant Hash, in which the modular system of calling became quite extensively used, but still required the caller to memorize little bits and pieces so that he could building blocks stack one on top of the other or put it underneath, because he knew starting formations and he knew where the thing ended, and he could pick up another little module that started in a line or started in an 8-chain through formation and so forth. And the term zeros and equivalents came along, and we memorized little modules again that became zeros, bringing us back to the same starting formation or to an equation of that, an equivalent of that. Then we took simple basics and we rememorized many different ways to get to the same spot that the star through put us in. An equivalent of a star through, if you will. And still, the creative callers were inventing calls. And callers seemed to feel trapped within this basic memory program. Subsequently, the art and science of sight calling began to develop. Les Gocher was one of the early callers, and whose name is a pioneer in the history of square dancing, who used a very simplified form of sight calling. He worked around a circle. When he wanted to resolve his square, it was heads promenade, everybody promenade, heads wheel around, pass through, go on to the next two ladies' chain, pass through, go on to the next, and so forth, until somehow he managed to match up some people. Today, the art and science of sight calling has really expanded into many, many different areas, and each one of those areas has the personality and the idiosyncrasy of the caller who has learned that particular technique, and after he has mastered the kindergarten approaches, began to develop his own abilities to what he sees on the dance floor and how he can resolve the square. This morning, when we talk about the ABCs of sight calling, we're really not talking about sight calling. We're talking about sight resolution. And there is a difference. There is a major difference. A couple of years ago, in creating the curriculum for caller schools, the 3 areas of sight calling were identified by the numbers of dancers that were involved in the choreography. CALLERLAB identified sight calling under 1 couple sight, 2 couple sight, and 4 couple sight. And this was basically based around, with 4 couple sight, you were using choreography that all 4 dancers could be involved in. The gears, the spin chain throughs, the all 8 circulates. The other 2 methods limited the choreography somewhat to the mirror image type choreography, where 2 couples on one side of the square were doing identically what 2 couples were doing on the other side of the square, and you as the caller were depending on 2 matched pairs over there to help you put the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle back together. Sight calling resolution has little to do with your ability to create interesting combinations for the dancer. It's strictly what we're covering this morning is the ability for you to say to yourself, it's time now to resolve the square and bring everybody back to a left allemande, and let's go on from there. There are several prerequisites to learning to sight call, most of which I'm sure you already know. You have to select primary and secondary couples in more than 1 square unless you want to commit suicide very quickly. Harry Carey on the floor. Number 2, you have to be able to remember the primary-secondary relationships. Who is the primary, who is the secondary isn't just enough. You've got to know which one fits on the other side. The primary couple, number 1, the corner lady, the number 4 couple, for example, as secondary. So that you're basically, in a simplified form, placing the key man, your number 1 man, between his corner lady and his partner so he can never get lost. If you keep him between those 2, you're in good shape. Also, you are expected to remember the partner relationships, either by costume, uniform, the fact that you know the people, something about them physically that helps you remember who they are. The size of their bodies, they wear glasses. Big women, little women, girls with big ones, girls with little ones. Colors of shoes. I use everything I can look at, guys. I mean, no stone goes unturned to remember who the partner relationship is. Color of shoes, Indian jewelry, mustaches, beards, especially on the ladies, and so forth. Something that will help you remember. So in the extent that we want to get away from memory, our ability to remember several of these key things comes back to memory, doesn't it? We have to be able to remember. And if you have nights where you can't remember, then write them down. Write down John and Mary are primary and Joe and Jean are secondary. And every once in a while you may say, gee, who was who? And if you've got them written down in front of you, it might help you to look good as a square dance caller. Another thing that's very important in getting more and more into the sight calling is that you have to have some ability with the mental imagery forms of formation awareness. It's imperative that if you have dancers in a line facing and you call a square through, that you know automatically that you're going to end up in a trade-by formation. Because if you have to wait to see that happen and that formation arrived at, then your square dance calling is going to be very disjointed and herky-jerky rather than continuous actions. So we need to know what calls we're using and how our new formations are. All of these things you've heard. I just want to touch upon them to put them in a small perspective to as we gain here. We talk about 1 couple sight, 2 couple sight, and 4 couple sight. Each one of us as a caller probably has his own buzzword for those particular methods. The buzzwords that I use for 1 couple sight is burnt image, because I'm burning the image of 1 couple, basically into 1 formation or 1 place on the floor, and I'm using them as my guidepost, just 1 couple. We're going to use 2 couples together. I'm isolating 2 couples from the other 2 couples. We call that isolated sight. But these are our own buzzwords, and each of you have your own. If we're using everybody and we're calling off the wall, it's kind of like an extemporaneous speech, isn't it? Our calling is very extemporaneous, and that's the term we use for that one. Right now, while I'm continuing to briefly speak here, I would like 4 volunteer ladies and 4 volunteer men to step out on the floor and just form a square. The dancing will be very basic. We're really interested in formations, but we're going to need your help to make the demos. After 18 years of using the same pennies unwashed, we have some brand new ones to share with you. Okay? I tied my wife to the sewing machine, and here's one more set. Thank you. Okay? What you are going to do, let's say this now, only the number one couple, keep them on. The others just hold on to them for the time being or set them down on your chair because I'm only going to use the pennies for one couple. 2, 3, and 4 can leave them off. Just number 1 can leave them on. This way you can put your attention to one of the couples. Okay, you can set them on a chair, 3s, and because don't put them on, hon, please. Just number 1. Just have them so that on a chair available, so that when we get to the need for them, you will be able to jump them right on real quick. Okay? Working with one couple site or burnt image, we have 2 little quick things that we would like to show you. Now, Art, you keep an eye on this clock here, because we know our time frames of 15 to 20 minutes and then 5 for the... Yeah, okay. Now, head couples lead to the right, circle to a line. Okay, 1 and 3. Now, in this particular setup, we have some known information, don't we? Because we have planned it. We've set up a 0 line. We have some knowledge about what a 0 line is all about. Everybody has their partner, and everybody has the lines of the square in sequence. Now, in burnt image, I'm going to start in a very kindergarten approach. I'm going to say to you that the only couple that I have to remember, and that's some of the hard things for the guys just getting started, is one couple. So by limiting my memory bank to the smallest amount, and about one couple would be that, I'm lessening the possibilities of me making an error by forgetting who's my primary and who's my secondary. Now, I'm going to take the number 1 couple because I've left them in the pennies. It could be any one of the 4. And I'm going to burn the image of this couple on their footprints. All right? I know that if I put the number 1 couple back on their footprints, I have a 0 line and everybody's in order. As long as I create choreography that the number 1 couple is using with the couple they are facing. And let the other 2 play mirror image on the other side. All right? Very quickly. Heads do it. Lines of 4 go forward and back. Go. Do a right and a left through, and turn a little lady there. Do a flutter wheel. I'm going to clip time here to keep things rolling. Sweep a quarter more and then star through and pass through. Do a partner trade or anything I want to do. They're back on their burn image spot. I have knowledge. If I wish to get out, right and left through cross trail, star through square through 3, or any one of a million knowledgeable areas. Okay? Now, think of for a minute, the number of things that 2 couples facing can do, including some illusions. All right? Past the ocean. Now, I'm going to create very quickly an illusion. Scoot back. They're working with the other couples, but in reality, we have some knowledge that the scoot back is going to bring our same foursome back together again. All right? Girls trade. Boys trade. Boys run around the girls. Bend the line, go forward and back. I'm on my burnt image spot. Okay? Good. Now, let's take that burnt image spot, and I'm going to change microphones here as I struggle to get out. And I'm going to draw a little box around my burnt image couple. 1, 2, and all the way around you. Remember that little game you played as a kid with a knife, territory? You throw the knife down and you cut a box or so forth. Well, this is their territory. And I can take advantage of the way I have them facing within their territory and still know, number 1, that everybody's got their partner, or facing, or back to back, but with their partner. And number 2, they're still in sequence because we haven't moved anybody around in a sequence change piece of choreography. Everybody quarter turn to face your partner. Okay? Now, my burnt image couple is still in their box, are they not? This is a formation that allows me simply to do a right and a left grand, doesn't it? Everybody in order, facing their partner, working around the circle, and so forth. Okay? Everybody star through. Now we've got everybody facing out, don't we? From here, we can do lots of things to create a right and a left grand or an Alaman left position, right? Cross trail, fine corner, Alaman left. But because they're still on their burn image box, right? Come back to your position, okay? Everybody do a U-turn back. Although we are half sashayed, we can still utilize this position. Do a partner trade and roll the face and pass through. They're still in their box, aren't they? That's that simple 0 line, right and left through, star through, pass through thing that everybody's done since they've learned to call, and we have an Alaman left position, don't we? Okay? Now everybody do a U-turn back and step to a right-handed wave.
So we can add, instead of non-hand-hold calls, we can add the hand-hold call, can't we? And use that for a turn-through to a left allemande, because they're on that in that box, and they're holding right hands with their partner, and the direction they're facing, the turn-through brings them to the corner. Okay? Now, pass through and do a U-turn back. Now step to a left-hand wave for now. Now we have a left-hand or Dixie-style type position. Have them facing in the pass-through to the corner setup. We can slip the clutch. Go, slip the clutch to a left allemande. Okay? With those few little simple ideas in mind, let us use a little choreography and show you how we can hopefully find a few get-outs here by sight calling that might be fun to work with. Okay? Lines of 4, go up to the middle, and I come back out, a right and a left through, and turn a little girl and the lady in the lead, do a Dixie style. Got a brand new wave. Okay? Now we know we've got the lady back in her little territory box, right? Her piece of territory, her homeland. But the guy isn't. So we begin to think, how can I get him over there? Well, there's lots of ways. One might be, boys, cross-fold in front of that girl. Go. Boys, cross-fold. Now we've got him back over there. Box the gnat, do a right and a left grand or something, okay? Face back in. Do a right and a left through. Again, lady in the lead, do a Dixie style. Got a wave. We've still got her back. He's on the wrong side. Boys, trade. Slip the clutch. Do a left allemande. All I'm looking for is that burnt image couple back on their spot, and I'll take advantage of what hands they're holding, right or left, and which way they're facing, and take it from there. It's a good way to build get-outs, and you can have millions from these kinds of formations. But as a beginner sight caller, it takes the pressure off of you in remembering lots of couples, and if you keep your choreography fairly simple and working with the two facing couples, it's very easy to return your primary or your burnt image couple to their spot on the floor. A little bit of choreography that maybe goes a little bit further in terms of what you'd like to do. Lines of 4, go up to the middle, and I come back out, a right and left through. Put the lady in the lead, do a Dixie style. Got a brand new wave, and we're just sight calling and creating dancing, which we're not talking about. And then when we get ready, we'll put them back on that spot, okay? Boys, trade. Do a left swing through. Without peeking, trade your wave. All the boys run around a girl, and then everybody do a wheel and deal, and then they're going to pass through, do a U-turn back, and a right and left grand. Okay, face back, and I'll do one more, and then another quick use of how we use burnt image sight. 2 lines, go up to the middle, and I come back out, and then a right and a left through, and turn a little lady. Gonna pass through everybody, chase her back to the right. Scoot back, and the girl jump in. Scoot back, and the boy jump in. Good. Boy fold behind the girl. Everybody do a double pass through. Are they back on their spots? Lady go left, gents go right, find your corner, element left, something to that nature. Just a few little thoughts. Build from there. The choreography you create is mirror image. As long as you keep it with the two couples that are facing, there's wonderful things you can do. Learn how to bring them from one side of the street back to the other, to their burnt image spot, with a variety of handholds and facing directions, and you can go from there. You can get a little fancier. Past the ocean. Spin the top. Half by the right, and the boy go 3, and the girl walk up. Good. Boys run around a girl. Do a half tag, your little foursome. Good. If you're into a plus, do a triple scoot with a Rudy toot toot. All the boys run around the girls, and then they're going to pass through and do a U-turn back, and there you are, and those kinds of things. Just simple creations, all right? Another way that I use the burnt image sight, okay? Square your set into a normal squared up set situation, okay? Now I'm going to ask the number 3 lady for now to put on her penny, and the number 1 lady to take hers off. Just for the demo, okay? Bum, 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 bum. Good. Head couples star through and do a Florida twirl. I've been waiting all week to say that.
You notice how smooth. You notice how smoothly they did that.
Well, we don't call California twirls in South Florida. It's always a Florida twirl. I mean, let's face it, guys. Now, let's take a very little simple routine that every caller in America has used. If there's anybody in this room that hasn't, you must be into clogging or round dancing. Everybody for now, swing through. That's the little routine. Boy, run. Couples circulate. Wheel and deal. Either a dive-through, pass-through, or a pass-through trade-by. Take your pick. Alaman left. Has anybody in the room has never used that? You lie a lot. Now, we all have little modules or simple routines that fit into this very same category. Let's take that one simple routine and learn how to make it into 40 million different dances that have as its guts just that. Okay? Head couple star through and do an Arizona twirl. I got to start making friends again, right? For now, do a right and left through and veer to the left to make it the two-face line, from which here we normally would do the couple circulate. So here we go. Couple circulate. Go. Now, if I was going to continue with that basic routine, I would say wheel and deal and dive through and pass through. I'm going to interrupt that very basic routine by using some burnt image sight. I'm going to take one couple in that two-phase line. Yes, sir. To do what? We're going to lose too much time.
Yeah,
Share a lap. There's 40,000 people, that's what you're thinking about, right, Herb? You know, we only have a limited amount of time, and we're really tight with this kind of a subject. Why don't you just push the wall out, Superman? At my stage of the game, if you don't have 14 laughs a day, forget it. Now, let's go back to where we were. We've taken a simple routine, and we've gone part way through it. Now, I'm going to take one of the couples, and obviously this morning we're going to use the couple that's got the pennies on so we all can recognize. And I'm going to interrupt that little routine with some creative choreography or choreography that's done in this little two-face line. And I got to burn their image so that they become a normal boy-girl couple on that left end of that particular line, or the end furthest away from me, or however you want to remember it, okay? Everybody have the girls do a single hinge, diamond circulate, everybody flip your diamond for me, and the ladies trade. Now swing through everybody, and the boy run around a girl, and there's my burn image position. I can do what now? Wheel and deal, pass through, trade by. Don't do it. Or, all the boys run around the girls, then the boys trade, everybody spin the top. Just go, anything that you can do, but keep those together, okay? Do a right and a left through, and turn a little girl and a flutter her. We'll say, ha-cha. Reverse your flutter with a cha. Good. And go on from there. Past the ocean. Want to put her back. Swing through. Boy trade. Boy run. Using simple common knowledge that we all have. Back on their burn image spot. Okay? Wheel and deal. Go ahead and wheel and deal this time. Now, rather than stopping my basic routine at the two-face line, I could have interrupted it here, right before I do the pass-through, trade-by, or dive-through, pass-through in the 8-chain-through position, which might open up a few different doors for types of choreography that I might use, right? Step to an ocean wave. Okay? Scoot back. Boy trade. Boy run around a girl. Wheel and deal. I'm back on my burn image spot, right? Touch a quarter. Follow your neighbor, but don't spread. Do a left swing through. All the girls run around the guys. Now I'm working a left-handed two-face line. Wheel and deal. They're back on their so forth thing. Okay? You can even have some more fun. Just the inside couples roll away with a half sachet. Everybody step to an ocean wave. Good. Swing through this way. Good. Scoot back and the men jump in. All the boys fold behind the girls. Just be creative. Girls square through 3. Boys reach out and courtesy turn that date. Illusion. Do a right and a left through. And then pass through. And then bend the line. What has it done? It gave him somebody else to look at, to play with, creating, as the guys who do the levitation tricks on the stage, an illusion. Star through. My burn image couple back together again. They're on the outside. And so forth. Dive through, pass through, Alaman left. Now, that little basic swing through, boy run, couple circulate, wheel and deal, dive through, pass through routine that all of us use can be interrupted anytime you've got your burn image people together. Create little games is what we like to call it. We're playing games at that point. And of all the variety of combinations that are available to us with the numbers of basics we have today, can take that one routine for you and make it into a million dances. Now, that's as far as I'm going with burnt image at this point. Okay, we don't have the time, and we have other very important areas, basically far more important than this one. But with this burnt image, let me wrap up and say, you're basically depending on only one couple Now, you want to have several squares in which you have one couple, obviously. You're not going to just take one couple in one square unless you want to die young, right? Okay? Very good. How's the time? Question and answer period? Okay, let's do it. Then we'll move along. Any questions or anything you'd like to comment upon or ask about in terms of burnt image? Very good. Our next caller, and going to cover the isolated area of sight calling, or two couple, will be my good friend Art Springer. Spring up here, Art.
All right. Okay, good. On the pennies, let's have the number 3 lady and the number 1 man keep theirs on. And number 4 couple, put yours on. What I'm going to be dealing with is 2 couple or isolated sight. Now, anytime we have a 0 box situation, such as let's have the head couples pair off and face your corner. Okay? Now, all I'm really concerned with right now are the box of 4 people over here in a 0 box situation. Now, when you reach this situation, everybody here is facing their corner. So we know that we can call anything we want to within reason in regards to body flow, formation awareness, and movements that we can use with 2 couples. Okay? So starting out in the 2 couple movements, we'll go through a few routines, and we'll put ourselves right back. And probably a lot of this is off of a little bit of the burn image, because you're only going to be working with 2 couples here. We're not really concerned with the 2 couples on this side at the present time. So from right here, let's do a swing through. Boy, run around the girl. Bend the line. Do a right and left through. Pass the ocean. Recycle. Now, these are all movements that puts us right back with 2 couple dancing. Okay? So now, there's lots of movements. We can do scoot backs. Let's do a touch a quarter. Again, we're still concentrating on these 2 couples. Isolated sight. This is what I worry about. I'm not really worried about these people till I get ready to resolve the square. Okay, let's do a scoot back. Boys, run around the girls. Reverse your flutter. Pass the ocean. And recycle. Okay, and we're right back with our 2 couple dancing. We're right back into our original setup of a box 1-4 situation. Okay, now, imagine in this formation that I want to cross the street. Now, the street, we're going to say, is right down the middle of the back of the head couples. This is the street. Now, once you cross that street with 1 couple, you have to cross that street twice, either with the other couple or the original couple to put them back in the basic formation. Okay, let's do a right and left through. Veer to the left. Now, let's do a couple circulate. Now, we've taken the head couples and crossed the street. The side couples are still back on their side of the street. Now, again, we can work right here, do a wheel and deal. We can go through basic routines, touch a quarter, do a split circulate, do a single hinge, and the ladies trade, swing through, boy run around the girl. Now, do a couple circulate. So we've taken the head couples back across the street, or yet we've taken the side couples are still on their side of the street. Okay, let's bend the line. Now the street is still down the center of the square, and we're still working with I'm concentrating, not really looking at this couple and calling, as per se to isolated sight, but maybe out of the corner of my eye, I'm looking at other squares too. Again, you're going to have X number of squares to work with. Okay, let's do a right and left through. Pass through, wheel and deal. Do a double pass through. First couple go left, next couple go right, which is a basic 0 routine call, and we're still got them on the same side of the street. Okay, let's do a pass through. Bend the line. And a right and left through. Now, I've moved all my couples that I'm working with on across the street, so I'm right back basically in the same 0 line, not a 1P, 2P line, but a 0. I have my couples on this side of the street, both of them. Let's bend the line. Pass the ocean. Swing through. Boys run. Bend the line. Pass through. Bend the line and pass through again. Do a Florida twirl. Thank you, Jack. Okay. Now, let's bend the line one more time. I don't like to use this many bend the lines, but just for simplicity here to get things moving. Okay, let's pass the ocean. Now, in this two-couple or isolated site dancing, when we get into using movements that involves all 8 dancers, then basically we're going to put those 4 dancers back together in the sequence that I want them in when I start looking for my left dollar man. Okay, let's go through. To save time, we say we're going to do a relay the deucey here. Don't do it. We know that basically it builds the same formation on the opposite side of the square. So then I've gone through a relay the deucey. I still have my corners together, okay? And from there we figure out a get out. But now actually we would have taken both couples when they did the relay the deucey and crossed the street with them. They would still be working basically with the same 4 couples in a wave. Now you can work with these same 2 couples out of waves, lines, or whatever. Okay, do a swing through. Boy, run around the girl. All tag the line. Face to the right. Do a wheel and deal. Now right here for the popular get outs, which is being more popular, without the left dollar man, we can pass through right here, everybody, to a right and left grand. Okay, but don't do it. Okay, now turn and square your set. Okay, now let's have the head couples slide out to the right and make a line of 4. Just slide out to the right. That's a new call. Okay. Now, in the lines of 4s, we're still, we've got the street, but we've got let's see, I need the pennies on, who have I got them off of here? I want number 1 lady. Can you put the pennies on your, okay. Okay. So now when I'm working out of lines, I'm concerned with my designated couples, which is couple 1 and couple 4. You don't really have to tie it. Okay. Now let's do a pass through, wheel and deal. Double pass through, lead couple, California twirl, swing through, okay, boy run around the girl, bend the line, pass through, wheel and deal, and the center 4, you pass through, swing through, boy run around the girl, bend the line. Basically, I'm back to my couple 1 and 4 is out on the same line, okay, pass through, bend the line, and do a right and left through. Now, I've still got my couples in sequence here. My number 1 is still with his corner and everything. I've still got my 4 people in this box of 4. So really, I'm working. You can call anything you want to within reasoning of what the dancer is capable of dancing. But don't get the misconception of side calling or isolated side or anything like that you can just call anything you want to call off the top of your head. You still have to call in the realm of the knowledge of the dancer that he's capable of dancing. So let's do a pass the ocean here. Okay. Go ahead and do a spin chain of gears. This will mix the dancers up a little bit. Okay, let's have the girls run around the boys. Bend the line. Pass through and a U-turn back. Okay, pass through, bend the line, and a right and left through. Okay, this here is working a little bit with isolated side, but not to the extent that you're only isolated on 2 couples. Because you don't want to do calls with isolated side all night long. You got to give them some of the relay the deuces and spin chain the gears and stuff like this. But then you're going to get them back into the same isolated situation that you're working with 1 and 4. Okay? Go ahead and square your set up again now. Okay, now this is what I have to present here on the isolated side concept. Is there any questions at this point? How are we going on time? Okay. Just remember that right down the middle, now even from a squared set, okay, number 1 and 3, couple boy 1 and lady number 3, you're still on your side of the street, okay? So let's do a star through, 1 and 3, California twirl, and you did a movement and you're still on your side of the street. Remembering that if you cross the street once, you have to cross the street twice, okay? Do a right and left through. Veer to the left. Do a Ferris wheel. You cross the street once, now pass through in the center, and you cross the street again. And we're right back where we started from, in the box 1 and 4. You had something you wanted to add, Jack?
Yeah, if you got it, when you're finished.
Yeah, okay, I'm through.
Square your set for just a moment, and only 1 man and 3 lady put on the penny. The number 1 lady, please undress. We got to liven this session up a little bit here. And Whitey, you jump in too, because as I say, we all have our own little versions of what these things mean to us. Head couples, star through, and California twirl for me. Okay? Yeah, California. I got to treat everybody fairly. I'm an honest guy. Now, our particular version of the isolated site tells me that I'm going to put a rubber band around couple number 4, who is a matched pair, and number 1 man and number 3 lady who are mismatched. Now, when I put a rubber band around them, a rubber band, as you know, stretches, doesn't it? Gives you lots of room to go this way and that way, but never will they be out of that rubber band circle. If I want to resolve the square, I need to put my matched pair on the outside of that 8-chain through position and my mismatched pair on the inside of that position in a normal boy-girl relationship to do an Alabama. We have a number of things that they can play with in terms of formation, step to the wave. Okay, we have ways to play across the street and back, scoot back, so forth and so on. Okay, boy trade and so forth and so on. Boy run around a girl, then bend the line. And we have another way of keeping the 4 together. This is as facing couples in lines, where we can do those kinds of calls. Past the ocean. Ladies run around a guy. Bend the line. Watch this one. Pass through and chase right. I want to see if they can chase from here. Outstanding dancers, okay? Good. Walk and dodge. Do a pot and a trade, and pass through and bend the line. I've still kept my 4 together, right? Now I have them all in the same line. But the rubber band still fits around them, doesn't it? That gives me a different variety of choreography. Pass through and wheel and deal. Are my 4s together? Can my rubber band fit around them? Stretched, but it hasn't done anything to remove the matched pair and the mismatched pair from each other. Double pass through. Choreography. Cloverleaf. Appears to take them apart. Are they? That rubber band is still there, right? Double pass through. Okay? Face to the right. Are they together, 2 face lines? Couples circulate. It appears to take them someplace else. My rubber band is stretching, but are my 4 still all together? Never apart. Okay? Bend the line. Go forward and back. They're all together in a line. Touch a quarter. We have a column. Are they all together? Right. All 8 circulate twice. That's the key in columns. Twice. Took the foursomes that were all together in the one side of a column, put all 4 back together in a box. Right? Boys run around the girls. Everybody do a double pass through. Lead couple, do a pot, a trade, slide through. Touch a quarter. They're in a column, but they're all 4 in the box. We circulate double, go. Circulate double, 1, 2. We put them all in the same line. Everybody trade and roll, and we have a little more visual concept here. Think of the choreography that you can use from the columns when they're all on the same side, when they're all in boxes. Never have I taken my isolated group of 4 away from each other. Position stuff. Pass through, wheel and deal. Everybody do a double pass through. Lead couple do a U-turn back. Step to a wave and swing through. They're still together. Boy, boy, girl, girl kind of thing. Spin the top. We have an 8-hand wave, but I'm only using 4 of them, right? All the boys run to the right around a girl. What have we got? An end-to-end kind of a 2-face line situation. Pardon? A weather vane type of a line. We can play games here and keep 4s together. Now, I'm going to get going here and for questions. And why do you want to add anything more to your way of using isolated? You can get deeper than this, but basically speaking, your visual choreography is keeping those 4 people together. You've isolated them, as Art has indicated. You're keeping them together so that we can easily resolve our squares. Okay? Very easily. You know, we can wheel and deal from this position, but it's tough, so let's don't do it. Okay? Square your set. And we're going to turn it over to Whitey if we do not have any other questions. Or any questions. You guys sitting here, you know it all already? What do you need from us, right? Good. Now, as we develop the various techniques of sight calling, the last one is the one that provides the most freedom. And we call it the extemporaneous. And Whitey, she's all yours.
Well, first of all, why don't you guys sit down for a bit? You've been up there on your feet for... You can keep the same people. That's all right, too. But take a little bit of a rest. Now, up until now, you've noticed that both in the isolated and the burnt image, you're keeping your primary and secondary couple together a good share of the time. And I suppose that all of you people that do sight call, we all use some of each all of the time. In our sight calling, we'll use some burnt image, we'll use some isolated, and we'll also use the kind that we're going to talk about now, which I think really gives everybody a little bit more freedom to do whatever they want. And in this particular case, it doesn't make any difference whether you match up couples now or whether you just wait a little while until you decide to get out. Of course, then you have to match up your couples. I've found that most of the time, when you want to resolve your square, you have to set it up. And if you're using the extemporaneous type, it's a good idea to be able to think ahead a couple of moves, or at least one, so that you know if you do this, that'll make it easier for you to resolve the square in your next or your second call from there. Now, I want you to understand what I'm telling you is what works for me. And it's worked for me for some time, and I like it, and I don't use a lot of fancy get-outs. I like to do a pretty good choreography and then end up with a nice smooth get-out that works. And I like to use lines, and I'll tell you why. I think everybody that when they start to sight call should pick out one kind of a system that they're going to use to start with. Whether you're going to use in the 8-chain through positions, or whether you're going to use the waves, or whether you're going to use lines. When I started in lines a number of years ago, and I like to use lines a great deal. I feel very comfortable in lines. I use boxes and I use waves, but my first love is working in lines. I call quite a bit with Jerry Rash, and Jerry Rash uses 8-chain through positions all the time. So I asked him one day, I said, Jerry, how come most of the time when you get out you use some version of an 8-chain through position? He said, well, that's the way he had learned. So for you people that are starting, I don't see very many starting people as far as that goes, but if you are starting to learn, pick out one type of a thing that you're going to do. If you want to work in lines, work with lines until you know how to do lines backwards and forwards and in sequence and out of sequence and with a zoom and so on and so forth. And then after you have learned one of those very well, then you can start to experiment. Maybe you want to work in your 8-chain through positions and get your boxes. But then after that, after you've spent a couple of years on those and then work up into something else, and you just don't learn the sight call overnight. It takes quite a while. And I know that having worked with callers, that one of the big things is that new callers and old callers too, as far as that goes, overlook Allen and lefts after you have them and you go by them. Because really, in extemporaneous sight calling, you should be able to match up any couple, any time, and do a get out. I don't think it's necessary to do it in 2 or 3 moves. When I first started sight calling a number of years ago, they said, you've got to be able to get them out of there in 3 moves. I don't go along with that baloney. I think if the dancing is going good, what the hell is the hurry? You know? Well, what's the hurry? If I have 10 squares on them, if I have 10 squares on the floor, I sort of have an unwritten rule. As Jack says, you better watch 3 couples. I don't always watch 3 couples. Sometimes I watch 2. But depending on my couples, if I have couples that I can trust, squares that I can trust, I will sometimes use 2, Jack.
Can't trust any of them.
I know you can't trust them all. After I got their attention, Jack, then I can find out who I can trust and who I can't. Sometimes if the square blows down, and I'll say, Jesus, who the hell can you trust? Nobody, you know. So, but anyway, you should be able to, after you've sight called for a while, like these 2 experts have, you can get out anytime you match up a couple. Now, I like to match up my couple and put them in lines. I like to, if I work in 8-chain through positions, I find that it's easier for me to work with my guide couple on the outside rather than on the inside. Because if you got your guide couple on the outside, you can do an Allen left. If you have your match-up couple on the inside, there's no way in the world that you can do an Allen left. You got to do something before you can do a Allen left. If you got match-up couples in the center of a 8-chain through position, so I kind of like just to do anything that I feel like calling. But as Jack said in Art 2, you just can't call promiscuously. You know, because you got to have some kind of continuity and flow to your calling. and so that it's nice calling. So you just don't call one thing and then call another thing and call another thing. You sort of have an idea when you call one thing what you're going to call next. I'm sure all of you do that. So now, if I could get those four couples back out, and I'd like another four. God, I've been watching those four couples for 40 minutes, and now you're going to change them on me. Now we got to have some girls.
We need a few gals.
No, we got a lot of those. We got a lot of those. So if couple 1 and couple 4 will put on the right numbers. I wish we could do this all the time when we call, Jack. So how did? I don't think I'd ever blow a square.
We always take a set of these to the next.
Jack says he always takes those along with him. That's how he had to get the others washed. Sight calling really though is very easy. Many of you know that I have a daughter that started calling when she was 6, and she's called at about 13 to 14 nationals now. No, not that many. She's only 18, 12, and she started her first national. She was 6 when she called that, and the first year she and I did duets, and the second year she started to do them alone, and the third year she started pattering, and when she was 10, I said, Sarah. Well, she was begging me for a bicycle. God, I hated to get one of those damn bikes, because I hate to have those kids ride them. But anyway, I said, Sarah, if you'll learn to sight call this summer, I'll buy you a bicycle. And inside of a month, she was sight calling. It took her a long time. If I would have hadn't given her an incentive, she probably wouldn't have been sight calling yet. But she does it very well, so consequently it's very easy, I think. And I have a little system of my own that I use that's a little bit different than some of the others. I'm not going to go into it. But now, let's say that as I listen to these two guys, it doesn't leave much left for me in my part of the program, because they were moving them all around, except that they weren't splitting them up as much as you do. Okay, let's say that we have the in my system, you have to, of course, remember the number 1 and 4 couple. I like to use number 4. Not always, but I like to use 4 because I like to have my primary or my guide couple with their back to me. Then I like to use 4 because that's the way I've learned it. Now, I don't always do that, though. Sometimes I may have a distinguished couple, maybe number 3. And the couple next to him I know are real good, so I may go with couple 3 and 2. But I always like to have my secondary couple to the left of the primary couple. My primary couple are a guide couple. So let's have all 4 ladies chain. Okay, now this is different than anything we've had so far. We haven't had in either the isolated or the burnt image. We've always kept 2 people together. But here it doesn't make any difference who you got where until you decide to get out. Okay, let's have the heads square through 4. And just as well had you step forward and face your corner. It'll save you a hell of a lot of work. And step to an ocean wave. Okay, now let's have the girls circulate. Okay, now let's have the boys circulate. Now, no matter what you call, well, let's relay the deucey. And how about that? Okay. Maybe give them a hand. Now, if I want to resolve the square here, years ago I got some stuff from Bill Peters, and I kind of use it a little bit, and it's called Friends and Enemies. And if I look down the wave and I see 3 of my people together, I know I got 3 friends together. I got not exactly an enemy, but somebody anyway. So after I've been calling for a while, I want to look to see where my guide couple is. And then I look down in this wave, and there they are. Most of the time when you're calling, you're going to have a couple in the wave or a line, and we aren't going to get into stuff about who the hell is your partner, I'll tell you that. To me, it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. I've always been one that hasn't been too concerned over some little tiny details. I'd rather see the job get done one way or the other. But anyway, most of the time when you're doing this, if you're careful, a little careful what you call, you're going to look down and you're going to see a couple that's in the wave, not necessarily together. Here, my number one couple or my guide couple is in the wave, and of course anybody can match them. That's no problem. All you got to do in this, most of the time, a trade or a circulate will get you back in a wave or a line, whatever you're doing, with a matched up couple. Okay, let's have the centers trade. Let's have the boys run around the girls, and let's bend the line. I know you didn't like that, but you guys did some choreography to facilitate things too that wasn't so damn hot. Okay, now I told you I kind of like to work in lines, and now I have my guide couple right in front of me here, and I have my guide couple or my primary couple facing counterclockwise. I don't care for that. I like to have them facing clockwise, so let's do it right and left through. Now I got my guide couple facing clockwise, and I know immediately from here exactly what I'm going to do before I do it. When I first started side calling, I'd pass through wheel and deal and do something, and I'd square through 3, and I didn't know where the hell I was at, and I missed the corner half the time. So I had to figure out something that the dumb old school teacher could do without making a mistake. Now I know exactly what I'm going to do from here. I'm going to pass. Don't do it. I'm going to pass through wheel and deal and square through 3, or some kind of a equivalent of a square through 3. And I know I'm going to get back to my corner, and I know I'm in sequence. So don't do this yet. But if I want to change that just a little bit, and I'm working my lines, let's do it right and left through. Now I've changed the position of my primary couple, and I'm going to bring my primary couple in to the center. But then I got to get them out of there one way or the other. Now I'm facing the secondary lady in this particular case. So then it's going to be a pass through. But don't do it yet. Let's do it. Let's have everybody pass through wheel and deal. And I got to get the centers out of there. The centers out of there, zoom, and the new centers just pass through, and that'll give you an Allemande left. Okay, now quickly run back and square your sets. Just grab your partner and run back and square your sets. Okay. That's the grand adjust, yeah. Sometimes when I get mixed up in the square, somebody asked me the other day, what do you do when you get fouled up in the square and your 3 guide couples or your squares are broke down? I say, run away home, square your sets. That seems to be about the quickest way. Are we running out of time? Oh, okay. Now, let's have the sides are right and the left through, and all 4 ladies chain, and the heads touch a quarter, and the boy run around the girl, and I get you right back matched up, which I didn't want to do. But let's take this girl and step to an ocean wave. Now, if you want to go into an 8 chain through position, it's pretty easy to get there, isn't it? All you have to do is, if you want to keep your matched up couple on the outside, pretty easy to do, because right from here you got an easy Allemande left. If you look at that, you'll see you got an easy Allemande left. Because you got the 3 friends you need in there for an Allemande left. You got your guide couple, and you got the secondary lady. So let's have the ladies trade, and let's recycle. And if you missed it, it doesn't make any difference. Just keep on going. Let's have everybody pass through and trade by it. And do a right and a left through when you get there. I'm sure this is not telling you anything that you don't know, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Whenever you do a pass-through trade by and a right and a left through, you have changed nobody except the outside couples. The others are right in that burnt image spot. They haven't moved. They've done a couple of things, but they come right back. So now let's just watch what happens to the center couple. Pass through, trade by, do a right and a left through, and they're right back on a dime. So here, if you're gonna work in your 8-chain through position, all you got to do is, in this particular situation, is an almond left. Okay, now then, let's have the center 4 couples do a partner's trade. We don't have a Minnesota one, Jack. Okay, and then pass through. If you're working with your primary couple, which I like to do. I don't know. I don't know. Jack's talking about a million get-outs. I don't have a hell of a million get-outs, Jack. I got a few, but I know most of them that I use work. Now, I know that... I wasn't insinuating that yours didn't work, Jack. But thank you. But I know the ones that I use for me in my business work. Now, I can't do an element left over there because I don't have the 3 friends I need. If I'm going to do an element left, I got to have that corner lady in there. But I do know where my corner lady is because if she's not in front of me, she has to be on the other side. So I like to, in this particular case, pass through, trade by, and do a right and a left through. And if I want to, there's an element left. But you don't have to. Let's veer to the left. Now, if I want to convert into a line, all I got to do is bend the line. And now I'm in position to, I'm facing the secondary lady. I don't do it. I can pass through wheel and deal, zoom, and the centers pass through the element left. When you're in this particular case. Now, let's pass the ocean. Let's have the men circulate. God, I don't want you all 4 together. Now, but anyway, if you decide to get out now, of course, then all you have to do is maneuver a little bit, and you got a 1P, 2P line, either in or an OS, either one. So let's have the centers trade, and let's recycle, and let's veer to the left, and bend the line. That puts you right back in a line where you can, as Jack says, there are hundreds of. I don't have hundreds, but I got a few. There's quite a few get out. Yeah, I haven't studied quite as much as Jack. Okay, now then, let's have the 2 ladies chain straight across. How am I running on time? Jesus, for 4 minutes. Okay, let's pass through and wheel and deal. Okay, let's have the centers pass through and step to an ocean wave, and the ladies trade, and the ladies circulate. All right, now I've matched up my secondary couple. So now I've decided I'm going to use my secondary couple as a guide couple, and my primary couple as a non-guide couple. And as I look in that wave, I can do a number of things, because right from here I'm ready to do an element left. I got the 3 friends in there. So let's, if I wanted to convert to a box, I call them box, and I guess Jack gave me hell last night, and he says those are called 8-chain. What did you say they were? I don't know, something else. Anyway, yeah, I thought that's what you said. I told my wife Barbara this morning that I caught hell from Jack because I called it a box. But anyway, I'm going to call it a box, because Jack said, "You said we could, didn't you? Remember, have your own things?" Yeah. Okay. Let's recycle. Well, let's recycle. Now I'm using my secondary couple. I've switched my secondary couple to my guide couple. And of course, obviously, it's an Al man left. But don't do it. Let's pass through and trade by and do a right and a left through and veer to the left and do a Ferris wheel. I like to work quite a bit with Ferris wheels. It's kind of easy. It gives me, a guy with a rotten vision, a chance to see a little more what's going on. And I know right from here that I can zoom and square through 3 if I want to. Well, I don't necessarily want to. Let's touch a quarter. Let's do a walk and dodge. And let's do a clover leaf and go around 1 and squeeze in, make a line of 4. Okay, now I got 4 girls together and 4 boys, and that's fun. I do a lot of that stuff in my mainstream calling. Let's pass through and wheel and deal. Let me know when my time is up, Jack, but don't give me too little time. Okay, now let's have the girls square through 3. And gentlemen, courtesy, turn this girl and if I've been going for a while, I decide to get out. Well, I look over my square and I've got to match up somebody. It's not very difficult to match up somebody too quickly. Let's have everybody pass through and you wheel and deal. Let's have the centers star through. And let's pass the ocean. And let's recycle. Let's pass through and step to an ocean wave. And the ladies trade, recycle, veer to the left. Bend the line. All right. Now I've got my secondary couple on the end of the line facing clockwise, counterclockwise. And I know that if I'm going to pass through wheel and deal, I'm going to have to zoom them out of there. I'm in trouble. And I know that when I work with the secondary couple as my lead couple, that I cannot do a square through 3 or an equivalent like I did when I was working with the primary couple. Because it's exactly opposite when you work with a secondary couple in lines as it is when you work with a primary couple. So I know right from here, if I want to, I can pass through, don't do it, I can pass through wheel and deal and zoom and the centers pass through or some equivalent right from here. Okay, pass through wheel and deal, let's do it. I got to get the centers out of there. I got to zoom them out of there. New centers touch a quarter. Everybody, element left. Come back and take your partner and promenade them home. By golly, it's really been a pleasure for an old country caller to come out and talk to you people. I look around here and I say, Jesus, what the hell am I trying to tell you guys something about calling? Because some of you, I know you're super duper callers, and most of you have been doing side calling a long time. But it's been a pleasure, and if I've been able to help any of you at all in any way, I'm very, very happy for that. If I haven't, I've had a hell of a good time talking to you. Now, we have a couple of minutes. Does anybody have any questions? I may not be able to answer them, but I'll do the best I can. My golly, Jack. Oh, okay. Yes.
What was the purpose for changing and using a secondary couple for your primary couple to get out?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it doesn't make any difference. It shouldn't make any difference who you match up. As soon as you want to get out, you have to match up somebody. And if you want to get out in a hurry, then you look for your quickest matchup. If you're not in too big a hurry, then you can maneuver around a little bit and match up your primary couple. I find it's a little easier for me to work with my primary couple rather than my secondary couple. But in lines, it's no problem. I can work with my lines with a secondary couple as my lead couple or my primary couple as my lead couple. It's no problem. Now, I don't know whether this is answering. One time I converted from a line to a box or to a 8-chain through position. That's only for variety. And you notice I didn't do any waves, but somebody called those waves. You know, Jack, I had a good friend that's quite a caller, and he said from an ocean wave you cannot slip the clutch to a left element.
He has the right to think anything.
Right. But I think you can. And if Jack Lazary can do it, Whitey Aamot can do it. I'll tell you that. Okay. Any other questions?
Keep the square for just a moment. Thank you, Whitey. Just in kind of a little recapitulation here of the isolated, the burnt image, and now this one, the extemporaneous side calling. We need our one other couple there for just a moment. Can we get them? Thank you. Put your little doohickey wadas on, if you would. There must be please. In looking at sight resolution from the extemporaneous method, like Whitey, step number 1 to master really is bringing your dancers back into a line of 4 after you have called a number of choreographic routines that make for dancing pleasure. For example, heads lead to the right, circle to a line. Go ahead. Break out and make a line and call anything that you want to do. Okay? Pass the ocean, swing through, boy run, boy circulate, girls do a single hinge, center ladies trade, diamond circulate, center boy trade, flip your diamond, boys circulate, girls run around a boy, bend the line, anything to get that. You return your dancers to lines Okay? That's your first step. Now, you can see easily in lines that when you have a primary and a secondary couple, and you know it's going to be 1 for primary and 4 for secondary, that in the kindergarten approach, which is what we're here to do this morning, ABCs, we want to match our primary couple. Now, there are lots of ways to match primary couples. Any piece of choreography that can do it. However, put your lines in normal boy-girl relationships first. Are they there? So pass through and do a U-turn back. Now, they are there. If we want to match the primary couple, that's number 1. There are only 4 places in the square where she can be. She can be already with number 1. She could be in the couple facing the number 1 man. She could be in the same line with the man down the line from number 1. Or she could be diagonally across the street. The only 4 places she can be. If she's with him, obviously you have them already matched. If she's right across the street facing him, a very basic 2 ladies chain will do it, which would work here. So 2 ladies chain. Not that you would necessarily call it, but in the lowest common denominator, the 2-lady chain is going to accomplish that. Okay? Now, 2 ladies chain down the line, just for now, to show you something here. Now, when we decided to make our lines, we found her not with him and not across the street. We found him down the line, right? So a simple pass through and bend the line, go ahead, will match up a face-to-face primary couple, from which, what's going on? You got people mixed? Oh, no, that's a different call. There is an old chain. I'm doing this for a demo purpose. The old chain down the line, you would chain down the line in the true sense. I'm just trying to put her over there, okay? Now, we then pass through and bend the line. Don't do it. We've already done it because we got interrupted here. And now they're face-to-face again, right? So a simple 2 ladies chain will bring our number 1 man, go ahead, and our number 1 lady back together again, where we want her. The only other place she can be when we put them in lines is diagonally across the street. So the number 1 and number 3 ladies for now chain across, diagonally, number 1 and 3. Okay? So we put them in lines, and the number 1 man doesn't have his partner. She's not across the street. She's not in the same line. This is the only spot in this whole square she can be in. If she's not there, you're in real trouble. She snuck into another square, right? Now, anytime you've got her diagonally across the street, the most simple choreographic combination of calls that could put 1 and 3 together is a simple star through, dive through, pass through, star through. That's second week in beginner's class almost, right? Not quite, but almost. And they're together, okay? Once they are together, the secondary couple is what we want to think about. And we want to think, are they matched or are they mismatched? Okay? 2 and 4 diagonally chain across. So we can take for granted now that they ended up matched. I wouldn't have done that, but let's say they ended up there, right? The key thing here is, are we in sequence or out of sequence? Right? But how do we determine that very quickly? If she's in the same line with number 1 man, who's on the end of a line, we put that number 1 man on the end of a line, out in the center, and the secondary couple is in the same line, you're out of sequence. 2 and 4 do a right and a left through. The only other place she can ever be, when you match up 1 and found 2 and 4 also matched, the only 2 places she can be, that secondary couple can be, is in the same line or facing. If they literally could touch each other, the number 1 man can literally touch his corner. Reach out and touch your corner. You're all in a circle. Join hands, circle for him. And just hold the circle. He can touch her. You're in sequence. You can visually picture him touching her. Not molesting her. Just touching her. Okay? Now, number 2 and number 4 ladies chain across diagonally. If they're not matched, they're not matched. And you've matched your primary, the key person in the secondary couple becomes the lady, not the man. The lady, as long as you have matched primary couple. The basic kindergarten get out is a pass through and a wheel. Don't do it. Pass through and a wheel and deal, and either a square through 3 or a pass through in the center to a left element. The reason for that is, with our primary couple on the left end of the line or the man on the end of a line, our pass through wheel and deal is going to put our matched pair on the outside of the square and our mismatched pair into the center of the square. Now, what determines whether we square through 3 or whether we pass through? If she's on the same side of the street, the number 4 lady, secondary lady, is on the same side of the street as the matched primary couple, we want to keep her on the same side of the street after the wheel and deal. And the square through 3 keeps her there. Couples 2 and 4 do a right and a left through. If after matching our primary and putting that man on the end of a line, the secondary couple mismatched, and the secondary lady is facing him, she's across the street, is she not? The street down the middle. So after we pass through and wheel and deal, we want to bring her across the street, and the call that simply does that in the lowest common denominator is the pass-through. Now, pass through and wheel and deal, and let's see that take place. Number one that we mentioned, by putting the matched primary couple on the left end of the line or the man on the end of a line, either way you want to remember it. The pass through wheel and deal has put our matched pair on the outside. They're the goalposts. They're the standards. They're going to be permanently planted there. Our mismatched pair is on the inside of the square. Because she was across the street before, we will have to pass through in the middle to again cross the street to get to the left element. Pass through. Okay? Now, let's go one step further formation-wise. That's the most simplified form of using a line. Develop it on your own into deeper and deeper recognitions. Number one, you don't have to worry about the primary being on the end of the line, the left end of the line. If they're on the right, just zoom them out of the middle or any equivalent to that. Okay? Now let's step to an ocean wave and recycle and veer to the left. Now let's say you want to match, instead of from lines facing, you want to match from two-face lines. How are we doing time-wise? Because we want to leave last 5 more for questions. All right? As Whitey has said, circulates and trades are your handiest tools. You want to match your primary. What would be the one call that we could use now, or 1 or 2 calls that we could use now to match our primary couple? We could either use a boys circulate or a girls trade. Either one will put our ones together. Agreed? Okay. Let's say for now girls trade. Is our primary couple matched? Yes. Is our secondary couple matched or mismatched? Who is the key person? The number 4 lady, right? In our simplest common denominator kindergarten approach, we want to place our matched pair and our secondary lady in the same two-face line. Are they there? Good. Let's do a couple circulate and say we found them this way. We matched our primary couple, but our secondary couple was mismatched. The number 4 lady was in the other two-face line. What very simple call will put them in the same two-face line? Couple circulate. Go. Couple circulate. So now we've got our friends together, right? We call a wheel and deal from there. If we've got our matched pair on the outside of the square, we have to have the mismatched pair on the inside of the square. Secondary lady as key person, facing corner. Unwheel and deal. Couples trade. They're still in the same two-face line, aren't they? Right? They're together. Wheel and deal. Our mismatched pair is where? Outside or inside? Where do we want them? Inside. We want our matched pair outside. So very simply, the old pass to the center or dive through square through 3. Go ahead. And we know we have the basic isolated type setup. Okay? Step to a wave. For now, the ladies circulate. Same kind of concept. Instead of using a facing line or parallel two-face lines, use an ocean wave. You still want to match your primary. The key calls are circulates and or trades. How can I match my primary couple in the fastest method? And circulate centers trade from here. Wait, don't do it. Or we could say the girls circulate twice, or the boys circulate twice. But then the other people, all 8 circulate once. What I'm trying to say here, or the point I'm trying to make is, in comfortable dancing, we want everybody to play the game, don't we? So why take 2 or 3 girls circulates to put them there, or boys, when a simple combination of the circulate and the trade will put them all together, and everybody's moving. Everybody's dancing. They all want to play. They didn't come to stand, right? So for now, I'm going to choose boys circulate, girls trade. Go. Okay? Now, I want a matched situation here. I want to have the 2 couples matched that are the same, 1 and 4, just to show how to handle that, okay? Boys circulate, girls trade. Okay. Recycle, veer left for now, and we have our two-face line back again. My primary matched? Yes. Is my secondary matched? Okay. Kindergarten approach. We want them in the same two-face line. Couples circulate. Good. We've got them in the same two-face line, right? If we want to take the simplest form, bend the line for now, and determine how they enter out of sequence. Why? The number 1 man cannot figuratively touch the number 4 lady. Can he? Unbend the line. You guys are good at this undisciplined stuff here. Do a wheel and deal for now. We've got number 1 and number 4, primary and secondary, both matched in the same 2-phase line. We've moved them into an 8-chain through, right? Simplest way is to put your primary couple on the outside of the square. Kindergarten approach. Are they on the outside? No. Do a rotten left through. They're now on the outside, right? Secondary's on the inside. What's our basic, fundamental kindergarten get out? Swing through, turn through. All right? So, swing through. Turn through. Say, hello there. Element left. Now, break it down, if you will, into utilizing or learning to utilize the line recognition, the 2-phase line matchup, the ocean wave matchup. One at a time. Where do you start? With beginner class. Because the hesitation between calls does not affect your ability to provide a dance-like program for them. When you have those hesitations while you're getting your eyes used to being cameras and snapshotting that shutter instant recognition of who's with who or who's not with who and where do I want them to be, with your Learn to Dance programs, if you take a little hesitation, who cares? They don't know any difference, but you're training yourself. You're developing those skills. Don't go out the first time you try some of this nonsense on a club load of dancers and do it, because you're going to have those hesitations at first while you make those snapshot decisions. When you've practiced enough with your beginners and you go out to a dance, don't do it all 6, 7, or 8 tips. Pick out a portion of a tip and use 1 or 2 ideas. Then go back to those modules that you may or may not be used to, or whatever systems you're used to. Don't change your system from A to Z. Develop it in a slow, orderly fashion so that you have mastered one step at a time and can use it comfortably. Don't be complacent. If you've mastered one way, a line that will pass through wheel and deal and center square through 3 or centers pass through Alaman left, and you say, I've mastered sight resolution. Okay? That's all I need to know, and I can do it every time. Yes, it's true. You can do it every time. What are the dancers going to know? Every time that you're going to resolve it, they're going to see the same memorized, direct step 1, step 2, step 3. What you want to do is develop it to the point where it doesn't appear to the dancers that you're using these steps. Because one time it's this way, one time it's that way, one time it's another way. The more you use, the more you'll see. Remember the first time you called a dance? They looked like a Chinese fire drill out there, those dancers. Right? But you had it memorized, and you knew it was going to be there. Well, the more you sight call, and the more you use, and the more confident you get, you will begin to see more things happening out there. Say, gee, I could have done a right and left grand right then. Why didn't I do it? And it becomes part of you. Art, last comment from you. Thanks, guys. You can sit. And then Art.
Okay, one. In going along with what Jack said, I think the biggest thing in sight calling is building your confidence to get out and give it a shot. And like he said, and I'll add to it, you don't want to do this at a regular dance for the first time. Maybe when you do it, get it started at a regular dance, do it maybe one tip, part of a tip to get going. Also, I think if you pick the brain of any successful caller, you'll find out that he does the isolated side, he does the burnt image, he does the all 4 couples, memory, module, and everything in his repertoire of calling. Don't try to rely on side calling alone, because you'll get into situations that'll bomb it. Okay, one other thing. They've got an announcement here that due to the interest of this session, immediately after the break, over in the Tucson room, they are going to continue for another 30 minutes. No, we're not. Stinscomb and Davis will be handling on sight resolution. Over in the Tucson room, right next door. It's a little